Hi, I'm John and welcome to the Jigsaw Puzzler. Today I'd like to do something a little bit different. I am going to talk about the puzzle that's here in front of me, but we're not going to have a time lapse. But I would like to talk also about puzzles like the one in front of me that people find sometimes especially challenging, and what is it about those puzzles that makes people stumble and just balk at doing them at all. So the puzzle in front of me is a 1,000 piece puzzle by Mindbogglers, and it's of an old town in Croatia. My Croatian language skills are zero, so I'm not even sure how to pronounce the name of the town. It's spelled K-R-K, Kirk, but I probably completely butchered those three letters. Anyway, it's this beautiful scene of this town viewed across water, where you can see the top of the town, the hill, with the tower on top reflected in the water below. Lots of lights from the town reflected in the water. Water here, rocks at the front, and this beautiful sky with this sunset in the clouds. So a rather lovely landscape scene and sort of townscape scene with a Mindbogglers puzzle. I've presented a few Mindbogglers puzzles so far on my channel, and I do find that they vary in quality. Some of the earlier ones seem to be of lesser quality in terms of their thickness and the way they hold together than some of the more recent ones. This particular puzzle has reasonably sort of average thickness pieces. I can pick this up in its entirety. In fact, I did this on a different table when I put it together, and just picked it up and moved it into this room whole, walking around the house with it hanging up like I was carrying a towel. It has a reasonably glossy surface, so that can make it a bit tricky in terms of the lighting. And it is ribbon cut with a whole variety of different pieces, not just the 2 up, 2 down pieces, but the whole full range of standard piece shapes. So, you know, a fairly standard puzzle from an affordable puzzle brand at the affordable end of the puzzle range, and one of an enormous series of images produced by this puzzle manufacturer. Okay, we aren't having a time lapse because I did this puzzle last weekend, and where I live here, we had an extreme weather event last weekend, which was both quite exciting and quite annoying. We had a very heavy dump of snow. While it was beautiful, we went out around the town, took photographs, and had a good time out with friends out in the snow. As it doesn't snow here very often, perhaps once a year, we'd had such a heavy snowfall that the whole town, in fact the whole district for quite some distance around it, completely lost power and the internet. So I had no means of recording a time lapse. I couldn't put the lights on. If I used my camera or my phone to film it, I would have lost my battery completely and wouldn't have had even my phone for emergency calls if we needed to. So I did not record a time lapse. However, when there's no power and no internet, what do? You sit down and do a puzzle to pass some of the time. So I did this particular puzzle. I have done this one before with my puzzle partner. In fact, she gave it back to me to put into storage recently, and I just pulled it out and I thought, well, yes, I'll have a go at this one by myself, having not done it on my own before. And it is the sort of puzzle that a lot of people either really gravitate towards and think, yes, this is a fabulous puzzle, I'll do this, or kind of shy away from when they look at certain elements of the picture. And I think that there are a handful, 5, 6 or 7 particular features of some puzzles that make people put their hands up and say, no, that's not for me. 5 or 6, perhaps even 7, fairly basic image characteristics that people shy away from. And this puzzle contains 2 of them. I think that there are a large number of people, and I include myself amongst this, to be perfectly honest, who really don't like puzzles that have got large expanses of sky in them, and this one does. Now, fortunately, this puzzle has got quite a deal of variation in colour and shading across the sky, given that the clouds go right across. We've got shades from pink to dark purple to bright yellow, the pale blue at the bottom, the darker blue at the top, all sorts of variations in the sky. But there are a lot of people who would look at a puzzle with a lot of sky in it like this one and think, no thank you. To make this a little bit worse, this puzzle has got a huge expanse of water in it as well. So I think sky and water are two of the features of some puzzles that are off-putting for a lot of people. This one, though, has got quite a bit of, again, variation in the water. I have some other puzzles with water in them where there's virtually no variation in the colour, and that can be very, very challenging. So I do admit that sky and water can be two of those puzzle elements that people step back from. I'll talk through how I did this one first, and then I'll come back to that whole theme of, some of those off-putting elements in some different puzzles, and show you some examples of them that I have in my collection. So I did this puzzle by I did a full flip and took out all the edge pieces. I did some of the edge first, but not all of it. I don't think I'd quite pulled out all the pieces. I did as much as I could, but there were some variations where, particularly down the bottom with these rocks, where it was a bit hard to see. I was losing the light, having had no lights in the house. I was just using the daylight coming through the window. And it was a bit difficult to distinguish between some of the shades of blue and brown across the bottom. So I did leave that for the next day, but however, I put in whatever edge I could, and I pulled out a few different parts of the town. I pulled out anything that I could see which definitely had both town and water reflection on it, so that I could create this line that goes across here. Fortunately, there are a string of boats along here as well, so anything that had a boat on it was fair game for trying to build this line, which then divides the puzzle into two parts. Not quite halves. The bottom half is a little bit smaller than the top half, but this dividing line helps to delineate an area of the puzzle. Then I pulled out all of the pieces that had the town on it, any part of the town, the buildings. And I divided them into two piles. There were those pieces that had the town plus the sky, so that I could create this edge that went all around here, and then those pieces that were town but not part of the sky. I then worked to put the town pieces together and put them kind of approximately in place, and worked on that edge to build the edge of this peninsula here. And then I had all the gaps there that belonged to the trees. I went through and picked out all of the green parts, the trees, and put all of that together. So virtually had all of this section done and all of the rest of it not done. So it was a bit of an interesting attempt to do this, where I had the edge done and the whole central section, but these two quite large gaps on either side. It became apparent that I could, as I'm flipping through or looking through the puzzle sorting trays, the rock pieces were becoming obvious in there. So I did make piles of the rock pieces. This rock in the bottom corner here is quite brown compared to the others. They're a silvery blue colour. But this brown rock, those pieces I pulled out and made this corner. And then I went on to try to piece together these rocks. There is an edge between the rocks and the water, so I used that as a guide to construct to zone that off and then fill in the rock elements there, which left a strip of water in the middle and of course the sky at the top. I moved on to the central section by concentrating on these flashes of light, these streaks of light in the water, and I pulled all of those out and made all of those separately. I mean, some of them come together, all on one piece, but I made as many of those as I possibly could, then looked at the picture to place them where they went in the puzzle, and that left me with anything that had the watery blur reflection of the town and the trees. So if we look at this water section, the town itself really only reflects in this part here, across here, the lower part, and then around it there seems to be a strip of dark green reflected in the water with some of these flashes of light. So it didn't take too much effort. That was a bit more of a struggle to piece the green parts in the water together. The town part wasn't too bad, but the green part got incrementally more difficult, which left me with the dark blue water, which was the more difficult part of that. There are variations in colour and texture. This is a little bit lighter and that's quite dark over here. You can see reflections of light, pale light across this part of the puzzle more obviously than over here. But it did take a little bit of effort and some shape sorting to get the water part completed. Then I moved on to the sky, and I left the sky till the end because being one of those characteristics of these puzzles that people just have a mental block about, find challenging, I find sky challenging. I do find water a bit challenging, not so much this one, but this sky, I knew that I was going to find it a little bit problematic. So I just worked gradually by colour. This corner is quite deep reddish purple, and this corner there's a little bit of that as well. So I did those reasonably easily. And then I just went through colour by colour. I looked for the orange, I looked for the yellow, I looked for the really pale orange, I looked for the pale greeny blue and the pale blue, the dark blues. And in the end there was a fair deal of shape sorting, piece shape sorting, to just go around and one piece at a time to see where they each fitted in. So that was a little bit laborious to make that, to complete that. Overall, it wasn't too bad. It took me quite some hours to do, and look, it filled in some time while we had no power and no internet. But you know, it was a laborious challenge of a picture to do. It reminded me though that there are a number of features of some puzzles that we do find challenging. Well, that I certainly do, and I have seen comments on the internet that some people, they won't do puzzles with large sweeps of sky in them, for example. And look, I thought I'd show some examples of that kind of puzzle, the puzzles we love to hate in some sense. Some people love them, but others find them just hopelessly challenging and they won't even go there. And I understand and appreciate that because I do shy away from them myself. However, I thought I'd show some examples of the kinds of things that people shy away from, that are not just sky and water. The first one I've got here this is a Ravensburger puzzle that there's copyright 2001, so I've had it probably that whole time. It would have been new when I was given it. 3,000 piece puzzle of, it's a Chateau de Schleißheim in Munich. Schleißheim Castle, Munich. 3,000 pieces, so it's a monster. It's the largest puzzle I own, actually. I'm not really the sort of person drawn to those absolutely massive 9, 18, 24, 42,000 piece puzzles. This is the biggest puzzle I own, and I've never finished it. I have the completed parts laid out carefully in slabs inside the box, and all the incomplete parts in bags ready to go. And this has sky with lots of white clouds on the top of it, and I'm pretty sure that I haven't finished the sky because I can see some of the blue parts in the bags, and this garden at the bottom. So sky definitely, and flowers, masses of flowers. They are one of those elements that again people look at and think, oh my goodness, that's just a lot of work. If this were a 1,000 piece puzzle, I think the challenge would still be there, but not as great as this being a 3,000 piece puzzle. If we look at the image, just under half of the puzzle is made up of sky, of the picture. So we can estimate something up to half of the puzzle pieces, so about up to 1,400, 1,500 pieces are sky alone. And that I found really daunting and off-putting, and it has sat in the box for approximately 20 years incomplete. I will get to it one day, but something in me just bristles and sort of shies away from trying to complete this because it's just a massive work. Yeah, that's going to take hours and hours, I think. And yeah, I'm just a little bit hesitant to take it on. All right, so sky, water, flowers, clouds, masses of clouds. This puzzle here belongs to my puzzle partner. We have done this once and we will probably never do it again. This is, again, plants, trees, shrubs, flowers, a whole mass of them. It's a tropical garden at Pattaya is what it's called, Mindbogglers puzzle. Lots of lines and structure with it, but everything, once you get this open and out into your sorting trays or whatever, everything looks the same. Everything looks the same. Even these lines of flower pots here all look identical, and it's just super challenging. In the same series, so we've got sky, water, flowers, plants, and snow. Snow is very off-putting, I feel, puzzle element to do. My puzzle partner and I have attempted this together. We have never finished it. Again, flowers. We haven't even attempted this one. This one we got secondhand from an op shop. We will have a go at it, but banks of flowers. We're hoping that the close-up on the tulips at the bottom will make that a little bit easier. The bank of trees in flower and leaf at the back. We're expecting that's going to be a bit of a challenge. However, we're thinking that all of these upright stems, trunks of the trees, will help to break that up a bit. So here's hoping when we attempt this one that it's not as bad as we expect. This lovely image here, the Moraine Lake in Alberta in Canada. Again, sky, water, but also mountains. Texture, rocks, masses of rock here. Quite a challenging image to do. And then last of all, I have this one here. I've had this puzzle, well, it's another Ravensburger puzzle, and it is copyright, where's the copyright date? 1994, and I probably have had this since new. This was a Christmas present. I'm pretty positive it was a Christmas present from my parents when this was a fairly new puzzle out, but it represents the last of the textures that people really shy away from, and that is fur. This is a 1,500 piece puzzle showing a lion. The puzzle is called King of the Jungle, although lions don't live in jungles. However, showing a lion taking up the entire image. And fur is one of those textures that people find really, really challenging to put together in jigsaw puzzles. I think that I have actually done this puzzle once when I was first given it. I don't believe I've done it twice. I probably will give it another go, but at 1,500 pieces, you can see that pretty much all of that lion is fur and is going to be hideously challenging. Not only that, the background here is completely out of focus. And so it is all essentially just a grade of colour, a sort of a greyish green colour. And there's no doubt about it that every element of this puzzle is going to be a challenge, probably except for creating the outline of the lion where these golden glow areas are, and maybe even the grass will be relatively easy because it just is different colour and texture to the rest of it. So, fur, snow, water, trees, sky, clouds, plants, rock, landscape, all of these things people shy away from when they look at a puzzle image and find them challenging. So we're not going to have a time lapse, but I'd be really interested to know, if you want to comment below, what are the textures or the features of puzzle that make you step back from it and say, no, I'm not going to do that? Is it just masses of one colour? Now, I wouldn't even attempt to do a puzzle, for example, that is entirely red. That doesn't appeal to me at all. That is not my kind of puzzle, not my kind of challenge. What do you find challenging? What is it? What kinds of puzzles do you step back from and say, no, I really can't do that? So if you'd like to hit like and subscribe, if you want to leave a comment below and tell me about your experience with some of the puzzles that you have really either not finished or stepped away from and thought, no, that's enough of that for me. I prefer this other kind of puzzle. All right. And yeah, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.